Wait, did you check the backyard decorations? My friend Linda asked, darting across the living room with a platter of cupcakes in her arms. Because your wife was freaking out about the color scheme half an hour ago. I sighed, forcing a smile. Yeah, I checked. Everything's blue and silver, just like she wanted. Inside, I felt a swirl of nerves. My wife, Jess, had been on edge the past few days, obsessing over every tiny detail for this baby shower. We were expecting our first child, a boy, and she wanted the day to be perfect. As people trickled into the house, family, friends, co-workers, I tried to settle in and enjoy it all. My mom laughed as she pinned baby-themed badges on guests, and my dad maneuvered around with a brand-new camera, snapping photos of anything that moved. Through the window, I could see a few folks mingling on the lawn, sipping punch. It was exactly what I'd pictured, joyous, celebratory, a milestone in our growing family. Hey, big bro, mind if I crash here for a sec? My younger brother, Evan, sidled up to me, wearing that lopsided grin he'd had since we were kids. He'd driven in from out of state last night, something Jess was oddly insistent on. She'd made sure the spare room was spotless for him, double-checking the bedding, the towels, everything. I bumped fists with him, my heart lightening. Dude, I'm so glad you made it. Thanks for being here. He gave me a playful nudge. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Now, where's that punch? I pointed him toward the makeshift drinks table, where Linda was ladling out bright red punch. The scene felt so normal, so family-oriented that I nearly forgot all the tension Jess had been exuding lately. But an uneasy prickle in the back of my mind wouldn't go away. She'd been distant for weeks, distracted, frequently on her phone. I attributed it to hormones and the stress of planning the shower. Still, something felt off. 15 minutes later, I realized I hadn't seen Jess for a while, which was unusual since she was the star of the event. Linda caught me scanning the crowd and whispered, "She probably went upstairs. I saw her run off with that pink gift bag earlier, maybe to fix a loose decoration or something." I offered a small nod. "Got it. I'll go check on her." "Try the guest room. She was talking about storing some gifts in there," Linda added. As I headed down the hallway, the hum of laughter and chatter faded behind me. The guest room door was slightly ajar, and I heard hushed voices from inside. One voice distinctly Jess's, the other low and urgent. My heart stuttered. At first, I assumed maybe she was discussing some surprise baby gift with someone. But as I pushed the door open another inch, I saw something that made my entire body freeze. Evan, my brother, his arms around Jess, her face pressed against his. They were locked in an unmistakably intimate moment, lips sealed together, hands roaming. It was a far cry from a friendly hug. A wave of nausea rolled through me, and for a split second, I wondered if I was hallucinating. They jumped apart when I cleared my throat. Jess's eyes went wide with horror, and Evan's face drained of color. The silence was so heavy it was suffocating. My first instinct was to yell, to throw a punch, to demand how they could betray me like this, especially now, in our home, during our baby shower of all times. But instead of raw anger, a strange calm settled over me, as if my emotions were momentarily short-circuited. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was because I couldn't believe my own brother, of all people, was the one in her arms. Evan tried to stammer something. Bro, this isn't what it looks like." Jess stood there trembling, hands trembling over her stomach. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. She glanced at me with a pleading expression I didn't recognize. I drew in a slow breath, my mind racing. We have, 50 people out there. Friends, family, waiting to celebrate our baby. Jess bit her lip, tears brimming in her eyes. Evan dropped his gaze to the floor, looking like a guilty kid caught stealing. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. And yet, I didn't scream. I didn't lash out. Instead, I said, "We'll talk about this later. Right now, we have a house full of guests." My voice sounded disconcertingly level, even to me. "I'm going to walk out of here, pretend I didn't see that, and we'll get through this shower. Understand?" Jess nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, unable to speak. Evan just gaped. "Dude, are you?" "Later," I hissed, my composure slipping for a fraction of a second. Then, gathering what little dignity I had left, I turned on my heel and left the room. Out in the living room, the party continued as though nothing was amiss. Laughter, the flash of my dad's camera, the smell of cupcakes. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest, but outwardly, I forced a smile. People came up to me, offering congratulations, patting me on the back. You must be so excited. How's Jess feeling these days? I nodded numbly, offering generic answers. My mind replayed the scene in the guest room on a loop. My brother, my wife, locked in an embrace. A short while later, Jess emerged, red-eyed but forcing a smile of her own. She moved through the crowd, hugging relatives who commented on her glow, her lovely baby bump. If only they knew. Evan stayed near the back, avoiding eye contact with me. I noticed Linda shooting me curious looks. She must have sensed the tension, but I gave her a subtle shake of my head, silently pleading for her not to ask right now. Then it came time for the baby shower games, diaper decorating, baby name bingo. I led the group with forced enthusiasm, calling out numbers while the crowd joked and teased me about my soon-to-be dad duties. I felt like a puppet on a stage, strings yanked tight as I delivered lines about midnight feedings and diaper changes, all while the memory of Jess and Evan's betrayal churned in my gut. If anyone noticed how Jess's laughter was hollow, or how her hand trembled when someone handed her a baby bottle, they didn't comment. Maybe they chalked it up to nerves. Finally, the gift-opening segment began. Jess and I sat side by side, unwrapping unuses and strollers, receiving cooing applause from the onlookers. She tried to pass off her tears as pregnancy hormones. I pretended to beam with excitement when, deep down, I was on the verge of either bursting into tears or storming out. Yet some bizarre part of me wanted to maintain calm, to handle this moment with some shred of dignity. The shower lasted another hour, but it felt like an eternity. As soon as the last guest left, I locked the door behind them. My parents offered to help clean up, but I insisted they go. "We've got it," I said, mustering a polite smile. My dad gave me a final pat on the back, praising me for hosting such a lovely event, then stepped out. Little did he know the nuclear meltdown that was about to occur. Within seconds of the door closing, I spun around to face Jess and Evan. They stood together in the living room, both looking utterly terrified. I noticed that Jess kept her arms protectively around her baby bump. That child was mine, presumably, unless there was an even darker twist lurking beneath the surface. The thought flickered through my mind like a horrifying possibility. "All right," I began, my voice trembling despite my best efforts. "What the hell is going on?" Jess opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Tears spilled over again, and she shook her head, whispering, "I'm so sorry." Evan cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Look, bro, I messed up. It started a few weeks ago. We were texting. I was having issues with my ex, and she was upset about something. We got talking. It was stupid. One thing led to another, and you betrayed me." I finished for him, my voice cutting like a knife. "Both of you did." Jess collapsed onto the sofa. "I don't know what to say," she sobbed. "It was a mistake, a horrible mistake, and I never planned on." "Never planned on what?" Me finding out. My bitterness seeped through. "At our baby shower. The day we're supposed to celebrate bringing a life into the world, I walk in on you too. What exactly did you think would happen next?" Evan held up his hands. "We were ending it. I swear. We'd been trying to stop, but we just—" I let out a derisive laugh. "Trying to stop. Right." They both stared at me with watery eyes, waiting for me to explode. And I wanted to. God knows I had the right. But something inside me refused to give them that show. Maybe it was the baby. Maybe it was the small voice in my head reminding me that blowing up wouldn't solve anything. So I sank into the armchair, folded my hands, and took a measured breath. "Tell me one thing, is the baby mine?" My voice cracked, belying the calm exterior I tried to present. Jess's eyes widened in alarm. "Of course is yours," she said, fresh tears streaming. "We never. That only started after I got pregnant." I studied her face, trying to gauge whether I believed her. I wanted to, desperately. The alternative was too painful to consider. "Okay," I said finally, voice hollow. "We'll verify that at some point, but for now, I'll take your word for it." Evan let out a shaky breath. "Look, man, I'm sorry. I'll go. I shouldn't have come for the shower. I'll leave town tonight." He turned to Jess, who looked away, silent. "You will go," I said, my words cold. "And as for you, Jess, I don't know what this means for us. But for now, let's just get through the next few days. I need space to think." She nodded, trembling. "Whatever you need." A thick, painful silence enveloped us. That's when Linda's voice drifted from the kitchen, calling my name. I'd forgotten she was tidying up. She walked in and stopped short at the sight of the three of us, tension crackling in the air. She looked from my tear-stained wife to my ashen-faced brother, then to me, question unspoken. "It's okay, Linda," I said, forcing a tight smile. Evan was just leaving. Evan ducked his head, scurrying past her. She glanced at me, concern etched on her brow, but I shook my head. "Not now," I mouthed. She pressed her lips together, nodding, and slipped away. Evan was gone within the hour. Jess stood by the sink, rinsing the last of the punch cups in silence. I watched her, remembering all the times we'd joked about how incompetent we were at hosting parties, how we'd dream about our future child laughing in the yard. It all felt tainted now. "You're not going to scream at me?" Jess asked at last, voice trembling, water running over her hands. "Tell me you hate me." I inhaled slowly. I'm angrier than I've ever been, but somehow, I don't want to scream. I just want to understand why. She turned off the faucet and faced me, tears brimming. We'd grown so distant. "You were always working late, I was worried about the baby, and I thought you weren't listening to me. Evan was there, and it spiraled from just talking to that." I closed my eyes, pain lancing through me. "I'm not going to pretend I was perfect, but you could have talked to me. Cheating with my brother. That's beyond betrayal." She nodded, fresh sobs shaking her frame. "I know. I'm sorry. I'll do anything, therapy, separation, whatever you want." She paused, voice hoarse. "I still love you, and this baby is ours." My hands trembled at my sides. I wanted to hold onto the anger, to let it shield me. But the mention of the baby softened something in me. Whether this marriage survived or not, that child needed us, needed me. I swallowed hard. "We'll figure out the next step soon. Right now, I can't say how I feel about the future, but I won't abandon our child. That's certain." She nodded, relief and grief mixing on her tear-streaked face. "Thank you," she whispered. For the next few days, I stayed at a friend's house, letting the magnitude of what happened sink in. Texts from Jess came in daily, apologizing, pleading for a chance. I read them but rarely replied. Meanwhile, Evan's calls went unanswered. My parents were confused as to why he abruptly left after the baby shower, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them the truth yet. The rumor mill started swirling among some of the guests, who sensed tension in the air that day. Linda, who'd partially witnessed our standoff, offered unwavering support. "No matter what you decide, I've got your back," she said, hugging me tight when I felt on the verge of breaking down. It took time, weeks, actually, to even consider sitting down with Jess again. We eventually tried counseling, determined at least to salvage some form of co-parenting if not the marriage. The baby arrived 2 months later, a healthy boy named Noah. The first time I held him, everything else faded. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the confusion, none of it mattered in that moment. He was pure, innocent life, half of me, half of Jess. That was the day my reaction finally made sense to me. I understood why I'd stayed calm at the baby shower, why I didn't tear the place apart or lash out physically. Something deeper in me, the soon-to-be father, knew I had to protect my child from chaos. That no matter how shattered I felt, I couldn't let rage devour me. In the end, I told my family the truth. The shockwaves were intense, especially for my mom, who cried that she'd raised us better. Evan tried to apologize repeatedly, but I only managed a civil phone call. Our relationship might never be the same. Jess and I remained in counseling, day by day deciding if our partnership was salvageable. Some days, I hated her for what she did. Other days, I saw the regret in her eyes, and I found a sliver of forgiveness. We haven't reached a fairy-tale resolution, but we're trying, taking it one step at a time. Noah's bright smile reminds me that not everything is broken. Looking back on the baby shower, I realize my calm reaction shocked everyone, maybe even myself. People expected a blowout, a fight, a scandal in front of the guests. Instead, I held it together. Was it the right call? Who knows? But I do know that in that surreal moment, standing in a room full of baby gifts and pastel balloons, I chose not to destroy the day more than it was already destroyed. I chose composure for my son, for the family we were about to bring into the world, even as my heart splintered inside. And that, perhaps, is the strangest twist of all. In the darkest instant of betrayal, it was the love for an unborn child that kept me from losing myself. I didn't yell, I didn't throw fists. I simply said, "We'll talk about this later," and walked out of the room, carrying the weight of heartbreak and the flicker of hope that, somehow, we'd find a way forward.